Probably the most radical idea that Christianity ever came up with was the idea that humility is a good thing. We think about humility today and we value it. We think about humility in our leaders and we kind of like that. We want a sense of humility with the people in charge of us because we just want them not to become too hubristic and narcissistic. We want some humility. We want a recognition that you can't do everything. You need people around you. You need help. And so a good leader who's humble will have a team, will realize their weaknesses, but also understand their strengths. And so all of that is a good thing. We value humility. It's something we like to sort of put as a virtue amongst the other virtues of just generally being a human, but certainly people within places of authority. But when we go back to the ancient world, humility was an insult. The Latin word humilitas is a title that you would give a slave. You're a slave because you're humble. You have no power, therefore you're humble. So humilitas, if I really want to insult you in this world, all I have to do is say you're humble, because it's a synonym for slavery. It's a synonym for somebody who is enslaved by a person who is more powerful than them. Somebody who is at the mercy, at the beck and call of another human being is somebody who's enslaved. That is a humble person. And that is the worst possible thing you can ever accuse somebody of being, especially if they're a free-born person. Somebody who's free to be called humble. It's about the worst possible insult you can level against somebody. But here in Philippians, Paul turns around and he says, no, actually, that's what needs to characterize us. We need to be characterized by our humility, which is the same humility that Christ demonstrated for us on the cross. What he did for us was the most humble act anybody could ever possibly conceived. But he didn't just do that to die for our sins or to make a way for us to have a relationship with God. No, he did that to show us how we should do it. Now, that doesn't mean that we all need to be crucified. What it means is that we need to demonstrate the same humility that Christ demonstrated, and so therefore model the way that he lived his life. He lived his life as a humble servant. That's what we need to do as Christians. That's what actually characterizes being a Christian, being part of this kingdom of heaven that we're now part of, as opposed to being a citizen of Rome or a citizen of this ancient world, which places all its value on power and shuns humility being something that you categorize a slave as. And the way that you demonstrate this humility is that you put above your needs the needs of others. You place as a priority the people around you, not to be a doormat, but to recognize other people's needs and to see yourself as an agent of them, as an agent, as a means by which you can serve other people rather than serve yourself. So don't see other people as a means to an end, which is more power for yourself, more wealth or whatever it might be for yourself. See other people as an opportunity to be humble and to serve, to build them up so that they can become maybe even greater than you can. That's what humility looks like. It's serving other people in that way. And so Paul says if that's what Christ demonstrates for us on the cross, then at the same time, that's what we need to live out in our community. See members of our Christian communities as being somebody that we are called and obligated ultimately to serve.